Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. So on today's video, we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. We're going to be going through some of the Witchcraft books and other items that I was very fortunate to be given by my friends and family for Christmas 2020. Now, before we get started, I do just want to say that this is not me bragging about the items that I got for Christmas, not at all. But over the last few years, I have been asked a lot about the items that I have in my house outside of this little box of filming area. I also get asked a lot about the kind of witchcraft books that I do read outside of YouTube and the kind of things that I personally enjoy in life just beyond YouTube. And so when I was very fortunate to be given these books and items for Christmas, they were things that people knew that I would really like. And so they represent the things that I'm currently reading and researching. There's a lot of books that I currently read that I don't talk about on the YouTube channel because I haven't got to making a video on it yet. And I tend to split my book reading into workbooks. These are the books that I specifically use for YouTube research. Often they're on beginner topics. They're often on specific categories, like fairies or green witchcraft. And then there are the personal books. These are the things that I am really passionate about and really interested in learning right now for me. And so when it came to friends and family asking what I wanted for Christmas, typically I always ask for books because they're something that I will always use, I will always go back to. And these are things off my personal reading list that maybe I wouldn't typically talk about on YouTube. Now, I know that I am in an amazingly fortunate situation to have friends and family who do give gifts, who can afford to give gifts. And I know that not everyone is in such a fortunate position, so I am exceptionally grateful to be in the position where I do have a large extended family and we do all interact with each other and give gifts. And even though in 2020 the world turned upside down, we weren't able to see each other in person, but we did still share gifts, and I am always incredibly grateful for that. Now, if you would like to know the items that I am talking about in this video, any that I can, such as books and tarot decks, I will put their name and the author or the illustrator down in the description box, so that if it's a book that you are particularly interested in or a deck that you really like, you can go and get it for yourself if you would like to. There are some items in here that I don't know where they're from, and honestly I kind of like it that way because they were gifts and it's nice just having like a little surprise. So yeah, now I'm not really sure where to start with this, so I might go through it in category sections and I'll timestamp where each of them starts down in the description box. So we're going to start with homeware and then books and then decks. I think that's going to be the way to do it. So I got 3 pieces of kind of homeware this Christmas and I am very excited about all of them. I think I'm going to start with the biggest one because it's on the floor down here. And this was actually handmade. So some members of my family are incredibly artistic and talented, and my auntie is one of those people. I feel like she's always starting a brand new hobby, and so this year she has been getting into resin craft and also painting. So she made me this beautiful box. Like, isn't that gorgeous? This all hand painted. And then on the sides we have the triple moons, and then the roots of the tree actually go all down the front. I'm hoping that the light isn't blowing that out too much. Isn't that gorgeous? But this was the bit that I screamed at. I actually squealed, which is weird because I typically don't make noises like that. On the inside of the box, my auntie has actually created this out of resin that says Hearth Witch, and there's more fire down here. Isn't that so cool? Oh my god, I nearly died when I saw that. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I love it so much. It is unbelievable. It's so cool. And I'm hoping that the camera didn't flip it, but it does say Hearth Witch, like set in resin. I am not yet certain on what I'm going to put in this box, but I'm sure that I will find something amazing, and I am going to have to find a really good home for this because it is beautiful and I want to keep it safe and it's so pretty. So I was really excited about that, and when I opened it I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So massive thank you to my auntie who hand painted it because this is gorgeous. And I really like handmade gifts. It's one of the things I've always liked. When I was a kid, I used to make things for people because I didn't have enough money to actually like buy presents. So I used to go into like my crafting cupboard and I used to just make people things. I remember when I was about 8, I think I made my cousin. I don't know if this is a thing anyone else did, but when I was a kid, paper crafts was a really big thing. So there used to be these kits that you could get where they would teach you how to take strips of magazines. Who even has magazines anymore? But when I was a kid, my nan used to have thousands of like those plastic coated magazines. And this kit would allow you to cut strips of paper and you would go through the guidebook and it would show you how to make things out of these strips of paper, like folding them certain ways. And I made her this like really dreadful purse out of bits of folded magazine, and I was so excited about it. I don't think my cousin was quite as excited about it, but you know what? That's okay. I tried. I had no money and my cousin was like 7 and I was 8, and I really, really tried. So the next item is from one of my cousins, and it's a cute little tarot box. It's adorable with the hair on it. This is really, really sweet. I love anything like this. The inside is velvet as well, so I can fit my Rider-Waite Smith deck in here perfectly. If I wanted to, there are definitely other decks that fit in here as well, but currently, because I'm doing daily draws with my Rider-Waite Smith, I like the idea of having a box to put the cards in instead of constantly having to shove them back into the little tiny box that they come in. You know, because it comes in like the little paper Rider-Waite Smith box. But the problem is I have a tendency to rip boxes. I am incredibly heavy-handed when I get annoyed. If I can't open a box fast enough, I will just rip the lid off. And so for me, that box is really annoying. So I'm thinking of switching to this one. And it's so cute and it's going to protect my cards really, really well. So I am honestly so chuffed with this. It's also just so cute. It's adorable. Okay, next up is the last piece of homeware, actually. Now, my cousin did get me a few other things. She got me a few candles as well, because it was from my cousin and her family. And this is the one thing that I am truly obsessed with. This is a tea light holder. There is a tea light hidden just in there. Isn't that gorgeous? This is currently residing on my apothecary cabinet. So I haven't shown you guys my apothecary cabinet yet. When I do a full house tour, when I actually get around to cleaning my house, I will be showing you that cabinet, and it's in my living room, and this is currently sitting on top of the cabinet. You can just see my ring light reflecting in it. It's gorgeous. It's so heavy. It's just glass and metal, and on the back, it has like this little entrance here where you can get the tea lights in and out. It is so nice. So thank you so much to Joanne for getting me that, because I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I have it lit every single night with the tea lights that she got me in it, and it is just, oh, it is perfection. That is the kind of homeware stuff that I have in the rest of my house. So this room is very much kind of green, black, and gold. The rest of my house is kind of purpley grey and silver. So this room is very different to the rest of my house. The rest of my house is like steel grey and purple and silver. So that really fits in with the rest of my house. It would probably fit in here as well, but this room is very much more gold in colour than my other room. Okay, now we're on to books. I cannot get over the amazing books that people got me. My parents got me some books, friends got me books, family members got me books. Everyone knows, right? I love books. You give me a book, I will be happy forever. So a lot of people got me books off a book list that I sent out just because it's a lot easier. I'm really hard to buy for. I have a very odd style for most people, and my home is a little different to most people's. So people typically always ask for like a list that they can work off, that the family can just pick from. Just first come, first serve, pick a book. And that's what we did this year, because it was just a lot easier to order things online than in person. It's just a lot safer to do that as well. So that's really what we did. So Which books did I get this year? I am so excited. I've already started reading like half of them. I tend to read multiple books at a time. I'll have like a different book in a different room, and every time I'm in that room, I'm reading that book. And so I'll just cycle through like 3 or 4 books at a time. So up first is not a witchcraft book, it's just a very, very beautiful book. So I really enjoy reading classic books. When I was a kid, I used to stay awake during the night with a torch reading Water Babies on repeat. And that book is really sad, by the way. You think it's going to be really nice. It's not. It's really sad. But I really enjoyed the way it was written. And so my parents got me this edition of Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, I have half read Dracula before. I've never managed to get all the way through it. So now is my time to get all the way through it. But it is this gorgeous copy, and it is gold edged, and it is beautiful. I cannot get over how stunning this is. I am exceptionally excited to start reading this. I have always loved the story of Dracula and all of the mythology that came out of it. So this is one that I will be reading before I go to sleep at night. And it's just beautiful. I love really beautiful books. I just love collecting odd books, you know, like out of print books or limited edition covers or just cool books like this. So my parents got me this and I am obsessed with it. It is gorgeous and I cannot wait to read it. Yes. Every book is just covered in glitter because someone used glitter wrapping paper and glitter is just everywhere. So yes, let's dust it off a little bit. So this is quite an interesting book. This is A Treasury of British Folklore, Maypoles, Mandrakes and Mistletoe by D.D. Chainey. Now this symbol up here makes this book quite interesting to me. This is a National Trust book. So if you aren't in the UK, we have a collection of houses, estates, gardens that are run by something called the National Trust. And it's essentially an organisation that helps to protect historic buildings and areas of significance. So you'll often find a lot of houses fall under National Trust if they are of national significance. For instance, I think Winston Churchill's house is a National Trust property. There's a lot of gardens that are National Trust and they have a lot of shops. And each house and each garden will have a National Trust shop where they sell their own homeware, candles, food and books. So this is really cool because it's a National Trust printed book. Now, I actually didn't read this before I did the Mandrake video. I hadn't got around to it yet, but now I'm really tempted to see what the folklore is in this. I have always, since I was a kid, been thoroughly engrossed in folklore, British folklore in particular. It's always fascinated me. I'm quite fortunate in that there's a lot of documentation of folk stories and I have always loved them. Ever since I was a kid, I was obsessed with fairies. I wanted to learn all of the folk stories around fairies. And now I get to learn about the folk stories of lots of other things, which is awesome. I cannot wait to read this. I just love the imagery on the front as well. There's a green man up here, and there is a magpie, a deer, a cat, mistletoe. Like, it's so cute. I love the detail that's in books like this. And so hopefully this will be a good book. But based on what it says on the back, it says, an entertaining and engrossing collection of British customs, superstitions and legends past and present. Discover a world of Cornish pixies and stone circles, of slumbering giants and shape-shifting river spirits, of feasting, straw bears and maypole dances. Learn how a green frog can be used to open locks, how hanging trousers from the foot of the bed can ward off fairy spirits, and why you shouldn't get married in May. Author D.D. Chainey is co-founder of #Folklore Thursday, a hugely successful online folklore magazine. In this book, she reveals how Britain's rich folklore still shapes our lives and where you can still go to find it in action today. So I am so excited for this book. That will probably be one of my next reads. But then we get on to kind of the deeper witchcraft stuff. And these were books that have been in my Amazon wishlist cart. I store hundreds of books in there, and then as I slowly purchase them, I kind of take them off my wishlist. And these were all things I've wanted to get for months and never ended up doing it, so they ended up on my Christmas list. And I am very excited to start reading all of these. So the first one of this kind of more intense witchcraft collection is A Deed Without a Name, Unearthing the Legacy of Traditional Witchcraft by Lee Morgan. And this book has been in my wishlist for a really long time. It's quite a small book. It's not the biggest book you've ever seen, and I actually quite like that because I find very big books to be a little overfacing. I think, is that even a word? I don't even know if that's a word. But I find that a lot of very, very big books, I kind of struggle to start them because I'm always thinking, will I have enough time to read this? Will I lose motivation? What if it just ends up sitting on a bookshelf forever? But I quite like books that are a little bit smaller, and personally I would rather read 5 books that are this thickness than one book that is like this big, because to me that is just too much. It's just too much to try to process. So this one's really small, which I like. Now on the back, it does have a little bit of a blurb that says, "The field of witchcraft studies is continually overturning new information and research about traditional witchcraft practices and their meanings. A Deed Without a Name seeks to weave together some of these cutting-edge research with insider information and practical know-how. Utilizing his decades of experience in witchcraft and core shamanism, Lee Morgan pulls together information from trial records, folklore, and modern testimonials to deepen our understanding of the eclectic and visionary substrata of traditional witchcraft. Those who identify themselves as traditional tend to read a lot of scholarly texts on the subject, and yet there still remains a vast gulf between this information and knowledgeably applying it in practice. This book aims to close the gap." And for me, I'm fascinated with traditional practices, and it's something that has always interested me. I know everything has always interested me, but I was that kid that always asked, why? Why is this done? Why is mistletoe a thing? Why? And I often, instead of going for people to ask the why, I would often use books and resources. And this is one of those where I'm really excited to see if it delves deeper than other books on traditional witchcraft, to really see if it takes it that step further. So this is one that I'm really excited about. I haven't started it yet, but because it's quite small, I would say I could probably read this in a week. I know some people are going to be like, a week? I could read it in a day, but I'm dyslexic and a slow reader, so if I can read this in a week, I will be happy. Next book. Now this is one that I have had in my wish list for months. I think since about June 2020 I've had this in my wish list, and this is 6 Ways, Approaches and Entries for Practical Magic by Aidan Wachter. Now this is a book that has been floating around for a little while, and I haven't seen that many people talk about it, but it did have some good reviews. I looked up the author, I looked up the blurb, and it seemed really, really interesting, so I was willing to give it a go. So the blurb on this one reads, 6 Ways is a handbook of magic and sorcery, rooted in witchcraft, folk magic, chaos magic, and animist spirit work. Subjects covered include sigils, servitors, meditation, trance, spiritual cleansing, warding, dream sorcery, candle magic, talismanic magic, vessel work, and tending to the spirit ecologies we live with and in. 6 Ways looks at how and why to build relationships in all of the worlds, manifest and unmanifest, what Wachter calls the field. That allows us to perform effective magic. Effective magic is magic that changes us on the levels of mind, soul, and spirit while improving our real-world circumstances. The focus is on finding pathways to the other worlds and building symbiotic relationships with the others, powers, spirits, allies that dwell there. Sorcery then becomes the practice of working within these relationships to bring about the changes we seek in ourselves. And this really drew me in from the moment I saw it, because this is exactly the kind of practice that I would innately attempt to do. I would work a lot with spirits without really realizing what I was doing. I was doing astral travel without really realizing what I was doing. And so I thought this book could be a really good way of doing a little bit more research into someone who has been practicing for much longer. It does say at the very bottom that Aidan Wachter has been involved in magical practice since 1982, which is considerably longer than I have been practicing. And so this is one that I am really excited about. Some of it might be a little bit simplistic, the idea of sigils and meditation, candle magic, that kind of thing, but there are definitely things in this book that I have not covered in any detail, and so I'm hoping that this is going to be kind of like a little bit of a springboard for me in that sense. Next up is a book that has been going around social media a lot recently. It reminds me a little bit of the way Psychic Witch kind of started getting popular on Instagram and whatnot. This is called Weave the Liminal, Living Modern Traditional Witchcraft. Now this one really interested me because of its description of modern traditional witchcraft. I find that a lot of books either work on the traditional practices in their original setting, as in during the time when these folk stories and during witch trials were taking place, or you find books on modern witchcraft. I was really interested to find a book that described the practice as being modern, traditional witchcraft, and I really wanted to see how that was all brought together in a book, so this was added to the list. This is by an author that I have read from before. They created a book called Sigil Witchery, and the author is Tempest Zakroff. I'm really sorry if I said that wrong. Names are not my forte. But it's an author that I have really liked the work of before, and so I decided, let's give it a go. So the blurb says, create an authentic path of witchcraft that works for you. How does a modern witch embrace tradition while navigating a complex contemporary life? How can you remain true to your own authenticity when you're surrounded by a whole world of magical theories, practices, deities, and paths? Weave the Liminal explores what it means to truly be a witch of the modern world. Through the accessible lens of modern traditional witchcraft, Tempest Zakroff helps you formulate a personal witchcraft practice and deepen your work with spirits, ancestors, familiars, and the energies of the liminal realm. This book is a guide to connecting to your deepest feelings and intuitions about your roots, your sense of time, the source of your inspiration, and the environment in which you live. It supports your experience of spellcasting and ritual and teaches you about metaphysical topics like working with lunar correspondences and creating a sacred space. Discover valuable insights into practical issues such as teachers, covens, oaths, and doing business as a witch. Modern traditional witchcraft is a path of self-discovery through experience. Let Weave the Liminal be your guide and companion as you explore the craft and continue evolving the rich pattern of your magical life. So this is one that kind of crosses the barrier between being work and being personal. I was really interested in seeing how this was going to pull together traditional and modern witchcraft while also being described as very beginner friendly. It doesn't necessarily state that it's beginner friendly, but looking at the information in there, it definitely seems as though it's going to be going for the very basic magical tradition and magical practice, talking about correspondences and sacred spaces. So this one could ultimately be a good beginner book. But obviously I haven't read it yet, and so I can't recommend it necessarily as a good beginner book. But this is one that I am personally interested in, but it could also be really useful for you guys if you are a beginner and this interests you. So leave it with me, I will read it, and then I'll get back to you on that one eventually. I know it's taking me a really long time to get around to doing book reviews. I like to process books really slowly, so bear with me. So next up, we have a book by one of my favourite authors, Jason Miller. Now, if you've been on this channel for a while, you will know that I really enjoy his Protection Magick book that Jason Miller also wrote. I would get it, but it's somewhere on here. And it's not alphabetical anymore, so I don't actually know where it is, but I will find a picture to put here of the book that I've already read that I really enjoy. So when I saw this one in my recommended list on Amazon, now for reference, I don't typically buy books from Amazon. What I do is I use the Amazon search engine and recommended books to look up books, and then I will go to independent bookshops and buy it from them. So I know earlier I mentioned that I put things in a wish list. So what I do is I use Amazon as a wish list collection place, and then I will go to other shops and suppliers to actually buy books, and they are really struggling. So if you can, support independent retailers, but I do use Amazon to kind of recommend me books. So when I saw this come up in my recommended books, I was like, ooh, Jason Miller, gimme. So this one is The Sorcerer's Secrets, Strategies in Practical Magic. And I was like, ooh, you've intrigued me. So I gave it a look on the back, and I actually quite like the sound of it. So this one reads, Some books on magic teach it as spiritual advancement, others as psychological self-help. But magic is something more. In The Sorcerer's Secret, you will learn practical magic to change the real world. Beyond a mere spellbook or training course, The Sorcerer's Secret is a field manual on successful sorcery written by a professional sorcerer. The first part of the book lays out qualities, concepts, and exercises necessary to attempt practical magic. The second represents clear strategies for tackling almost any type of issue with sorcery. You will learn how to attack problems from multiple angles, not just by casting a spell. Blend mundane and magical action to ensure success. Figure out whether what you are doing is working and fix it if it isn't. Go beyond readings into magical intelligence gathering. Work most effectively on behalf of others. The Sorcerer's Secrets will help rescue the art of magic for those who have ignored, downplayed, or just outright denied the existence of practical sorcery in favour of arcane titles, intangible results, and fantasy attainments. Now, this is something that I really attune with, mainly because of my work online. I get a lot of people who ask the same questions. And I think a lot of people tend to be either or. They're polar opposites. Either they don't believe in magic at all and they don't see the point in it and it's all nonsense. Or you get the people that use it for literally everything, and at the end of the day they probably don't get the results that they're after because they are wanting to get a bunch of stuff out of it without putting the work and effort in. And I aim to try to teach this middle section, this bit where you are skeptical about things you should be skeptical about, but you are willing to put in the time and effort to study the practical applications that might give you that magical result that you're after when you need it. And Jason Miller is one of those authors where the work is very much about dispelling misconceptions. It's about giving you practical results and practical techniques, but it's also not going to coddle you and give you a million spells for everything you could ever want. Like, get the boy that doesn't notice you to look at you for 10 seconds. Like, you've seen those spells. I think a lot of you have seen them out there. And I think Jason Miller really crosses that boundary. So this is another one where I got it because I enjoy Jason Miller's work. And if it's good, it might cross over into that I will recommend on YouTube kind of category, like his Protection. It actually says it at the bottom here, Protection and Reversal Magic. That book is fantastic. I do recommend that because I did thoroughly enjoy it. This one might also end up on my recommended list. Maybe. I don't know yet. We will have to see. So next up is a book that I've wanted to get for years. I have seen it every time I go down to Glastonbury. I notice it. And this year, I finally got it for Christmas, and I am exceptionally happy about it. For any of you that have been here for a while, you will know that I really enjoy the work of Ronald Hutton. Now, if you don't know who Ronald Hutton is most well known for his documentaries. Some of them are available on the internet. You can find them occasionally around Halloween. They get put on TV, which is always really cool to see. He's an author and a historian, as well as a presenter, that discusses topics around witchcraft, modern pagan religions such as Wicca. He's done a lot of documentaries about the practice of witchcraft today and also about the creation of Wicca, and one of his most well-known documentaries is all about the creation of Wicca as we see it today by Gerald Gardner, and that documentary is really well known, but he's also an author, and this, The Witch, is one of his most well-known books. So I am so excited about this. This is one of those that I have wanted for years, and I am very looking forward to reading it. Every time people ask me about a good book for witchcraft history, I can never give them one, because the problem is that witchcraft and magical practice is seen all around the world, and very few authors actually talk about witchcraft from all around the world, or magical practice from all around the world. So for instance, if you live in the Philippines, there are very few books written about the history of magical practice within your tradition, because most books on the history of witchcraft are written from European tradition as of what was seen during the witch trials. So I decided to give this one a go. I'm not sure how much around the world it's going to go, but there is a section that does talk about global context, which really interested me because I thought maybe it might have a little bit of a wider perspective than a lot of history books do. So I'm going to give this a go, report back to you. I'll see if it's good on the history of witchcraft. But as with all the other books, the blurb is as follows. The witch came to prominence, and often a painful death, in early modern Europe, yet her origins are much older and more geographically diverse. In this landmark book, Ronald Hutton traces witchcraft from the ancient world to the present day via the stakes, sorcerers, and superstitions that have come to define her. And so I'm kind of really interested in this. It was created by Yale University Press, New Haven and London, which is really interesting. Very few witchcraft books do come out of Yale books. They just don't. It's not really something that is printed. I am looking forward to giving this a go, seeing if it's good. Obviously, there is going to be a lot of stuff that is not going to translate quite so well into modern practice, such as in here, even just in the blurb, it is a lot of female terms, her, hers, she. But I suspect this is going to be good because Ronald Hutton is always really good with his work. He's always exceptionally thorough, and he also takes great care with the stuff he does create. So I will give this a go. Let's see if it's any good. But I did want a Ronald Hutton book in my collection, and now I have one. And I am really chuffed about that. It's also one of those like velvety, soft books, which I really like. So now we have a big book. This one is Modern Magic, 12 Lessons in the High Magic Arts by Donald Michael Kraig. Now, a lot of you may well have seen this book. Oh god, it's so heavy, floating around. So this book has been out for a good while now. I don't think it's one of the old books. I will get more to that because I do have one of those kind of more traditional texts in this list. But this is a book that I have been looking at for a long time. It isn't something that I've ever really been interested in before, but I have been told that it has some fantastic foundational practices. And so for anyone that is interested in these foundational practices, in here could be a lot of really good information that you might use. So I asked for this as kind of a double-sided thing. I got it because I wanted to add it into my collection. It's one that's been in a wish list for like 8 years, and I figured, you know what, it's about time that I actually get it. And also, it might be really useful to talk about for you guys if you are interested in some of these kind of beginner practices. So this book is a little bit more on the ceremonial magic side. It's very much that higher magic, the ceremonial magic. There will be aspects of Kabbalah in here because a lot of ceremonial witchcraft and magical ritual does have that in it. So it's not a book that I have ever really been interested in practicing personally, but it is a book that I've been really interested in reading. And so after like 8 years in a wish list, I finally got around to getting it. Now, I have never read any of this book before, so I'm going to be really interested to dive in and see what it's like. But I have been told by a lot of practitioners that it does have some fantastic foundational practices in there. So even if the kind of ritualistic, highly ceremonial magic is not your thing, if you prefer the folk traditions, this is really heavy, if you prefer like the folk traditions and the get your hands dirty kind of magic versus the very ceremonial ritualistic, then the practice might not be your thing, but you might find that there are techniques in here that are exceptionally useful. So it's one of those where I got it for myself, but also it could be useful for you guys. I don't know. I'll have to see when I read it. But the blurb reads as follows. For over 2 decades, Donald Michael Kraig's Modern Magic has been the world's most popular step-by-step guide to working real magic. Tens of thousands of individuals and groups have used this course as their primary instruction manual. Now greatly revised and expanded, this set of lessons is more complete and relevant to your life than ever. Written with respect for the student, Modern Magic will safely guide you, even if you know little or nothing, through a progressive series of practical exercises and rituals, complemented by the knowledge, history, insight, and theory you need to become a successful ceremonial magician. Firmly rooted in the Western magical tradition, yet designed to be fully compatible with your contemporary practice, this book will help you attain full mastery of all core topics in magic. The inner mysteries of the Kabbalah, the most powerful rituals of magic, how to create and perform your own rituals, true meditation, magical ethics, astral projection, tools of magic, evocation of spirits, pathworking, sex magic, the importance of tarot, talismans and amulets, secrets of visualization, alchemy, psychic self-defense, and healing rituals. Filled with personal stories and helpful illustrations, along with updated and brand new material, this new edition of Modern Magick features a completely new lesson that reveals the concepts, techniques, and rituals of neuro-linguistic programming, chaos magic, and postmodern magic, ideal for beginning, intermediate, or advanced students, and perfect as a manual for magical temples. This is essential reading for the true magician. Now, there's a lot of very big claims in there, and I am really interested if it lives up to them. Now, unfortunately, as far as I am aware, the author, Donald Michael Kraig, did pass away in 2014. So, I'll be interested to see how much of the more older ceremonial traditions are in there. The traditions that are commonly seen in more 1940s, 1950s, 60s kind of magical traditions, the kind that you will often see Gerald Gardner's works drawing on. So I'm going to be really interested to see if this is any good. Now, they do refer to themselves as magicians because it is a lot more ceremonial, higher magic than, say, witchcraft, which is typically a little bit more lower magic. So I'm going to be really curious. This is one of those books where I was really intimidated by it 10 years ago. And now I'm finally like, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, I'm going to give it a read. What's the worst thing that can come out of it? I might be able to relearn a little bit of stuff that I forgot about. I might find a whole new section of magic that I really, really like. So we're going to give it a go. There's a lot of claims that it needs to live up to there. So yes, I'm not certain on whether I'm going to be raving about it by the end, but I will go into it with an open mind. So next up, we have a little bit of a more specific book. This time it is The Hedge Witch's Way by Beth. Now, a lot of you may well have heard of Beth before. Very, very famously, the book Hedge Witch has gone on to sell thousands and thousands and thousands of copies. I have a book of it up here. I think it's literally right there. Never mind. I moved it. It's not there. It's like down here somewhere. But I have the Hedge Witch book. Now, Hedge Witch was actually created through a series of letters back and forth between Beth and a pair of individuals who wanted to learn and practice hedge witchcraft. And so that book is really interesting. It is literally written as letters because they've just transcribed the actual written letters into the book. So it's really unusual to read. But I had a look online and I found some other works that Beth had also done, and I decided it's time to go and get some more. Now, Beth is relatively well known for including a lot of Wicca within the magical practice. So even in Hedge Witch, there's a lot of referral to the god and the goddess. There's a lot of referral to sabbats and espats. And in this, there is also going to be that heavy Wicca basis. And if that isn't what you're after, Beth might not be the best author for you because a lot of the work does contain that. However, if you can read past the Wicca, and I would suggest that you do, Beth's works are wonderful. They're really, really well written. The information in them is so wonderful. It is just a case of reading past it. So this one is another thin book I can appreciate, and it is essentially a guide to hedge witchcraft for a solitary practitioner, exactly as it says at the top. Now, the blurb for this says, "Here is a guide to the magical spirituality of the Hedge Witch, which describes a path that is profound and yet simple, uncluttered by complex ritual, a matter of the heart. The Hedge Witch is a solitary witch and natural mystic who practices wildwood mysticism, so called because it is the knowledge at the root of the tree of witchcraft. Explained in detail are the witch's prayers, spellcasting, and communications with spirits and fairies, including those spirits travelling in the three realms of the magical otherworld. The values and ethics of this most ancient tradition may surprise and delight with a blend of common sense, compassion, and wildness. It is not a spiritual way for conformists. This book opens the doors to those who feel they are natural witches but are, as yet, uninstructed. The Hedge Witch's Way is a guide for witches of either gender, potential wise woman or wise man, that presents the fairy-led practice of our ancestors in the modern-day context. The book includes prayer and enchantment, who it is we're praying to, addressing mystery behind hedge magic, initiation into the wildwood mysteries, a consecration of the wildwood altar, prayers for the powers of the witch, prayers and spells for health, prayers and spells for wealth, prayers and spells for good fortune, how to create magical prayers, help from a familiar spirit, travelling between the worlds, steps along the path, and prayers for the 8 Sabbats. So straight away you can definitely see that there is a great deal of Wicca aspect in there, but if you are interested in Hedge Witchcraft and you want to learn from a very long time practitioner, Beth could be a really good option for you if you can read past. And because I did enjoy Hedge Witch so much, I'm definitely going to look into this. I'm also really interested to see how this book works with familial spirits, because right now there is so much misinformation about familial spirits being spread around social media. I've seen it everywhere. It used to be really, really bad, and then it got a little bit better, and now with the creation of TikTok, it is just getting way worse. There is a lot of misinformation being spread about familiars, how to work with them, and especially what they are. I'm hoping to maybe do a full video on familiars in the future because there is so much misinformation. So another book talking about it, I'm going to give it a go, see if I like it, but given what I've read from Beth already, I suspect that I will. Last few books now, I promise we're nearly at the end. When I say I have an extended family, I really mean it. And also, my parents got me a good few of these because they know how much I love to read. If you were to look at my filming room right now, there are stacks of books everywhere. There are a stack on the sofa. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stacks on the floor. Then I have my bookshelf. Then I have a bookshelf in there. I might have a problem. I might. I will not fully admit it, but I might. So I did get a lot of books from my parents because they know how much I love to read. So next up is this one. This is Folk Witchcraft, A Guide to Law, Land, and the Familiar Spirit for the Solitary Practitioner by Roger J. Horne. This is another one that's been in my wishlist for ages. As you can see, I've already read part of it. I am that far in, and yes, right there is a dog ear to my page. I am that abomination that dog ears my pages. They're practical for me though. I see a table as a table. I'm not the kind of person to use coasters because a table is a table. You're meant to put things on it, and I see books as being books, so I read them. The only thing I won't do is I won't highlight words. Like, I might in pencil add notes down the side, or like if there's a section here, there's a blank bit, I might add some pencil notes, but you will never see me getting a highlighter out and highlighting pages. No, even me as a book abomination will never take a highlighter to a book. But I am really, really enjoying this so far. I think I read that far in a day. So like, oh no, 2 days, because I can see where I dog-eared another page. 2 days it took me to read that much, which is really, really good for me. And that means that, at least for me, it's relatively easy language-wise, the way it's written, for me to read it quickly, which I can really appreciate. There are some spelling mistakes, there are some grammatical errors that are very obvious, so there'll be a repetition of like the same section of a sentence twice that you just have to read past. I know a lot of the reviews of this book do complain about that, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not worth complaining about. Like, it's a mistake, the editor missed it, get over it. That's kind of how I view these things. But I am thoroughly enjoying it. The blurb was really what drew me in. Complete with practical exercises, in-depth descriptions of craft theories and models, hand-drawn illustrations, and the author's working grimoire, Folk Witchcraft provides the student witch with a thorough introduction to the old craft that is firmly rooted in the past, but adapted for the present. Experienced witches will deepen and enrich their practices by connecting more fully to traditional magics from hundreds of years in the past. Learn how to master ecstatic methods of spirit flight described in old witch lore, celebrate the turning of the seasons with traditional rituals, cultivate closer relationships with nature spirits and personal familiars, work powerful traditional charms such as the witch's ladder, the poppet, and blessing and cursing by gesture, discern the magical properties of herbs and plants without relying on tables from books, practical guidance from the spirit world, utilize old craft intentions, remedies, and recipes, connect to the old ones, the ancestors of folk witchcraft, experience shape-shifting into various animal spirit forms, craft herbal oils, powders, tinctures, and infusions, interpret incantations, charms, and sigils received from your own familiar spirit, research and hone your own lore and grimoire-sourced magical practices. With over 50 rituals, charms, and exercises, Folk Witchcraft offers a refreshingly simple approach to the craft that is non-dogmatic, flexible, and rewarding as a regular spiritual practice. And once again, the moment I see familial spirits, but I see them referenced correctly, I am in love with this book already. I am halfway. So far, I am currently dredging through the very old, repetitive information that a lot of beginner style books do have, a little bit about the Sabbats. I mean, what am I on right now? Yeah, I was going through the Sabbats. But aren't these so cute? Like, look, they have little drawings throughout the entire book. Look how cute it is. So, I am really enjoying this so far, and the moment I see information about familial spirits correctly, I am on it like a hot potato. Is that a thing? That's what we say in the UK, and I don't really understand what that means. But anyway, yeah. British people are just weird. And so when I see books like this, I'm always really excited. So I'm currently reading this and I really enjoy it. I'm not going to give like a full yes, no, buy it kind of thing until I finished it. But so far I do really like it. And then lastly, on the books, did I tell you that I got a lot of books? I got a lot of books. Is this one. The Big Blue Book. Everyone knows this book, or at least everyone has seen it or heard of it. This is Raymond Buckland's complete book of witchcraft. And this is the updated version. So the book, I think, had already been out for 20 years, 25 years before they did the updated version. So this is the updated version. I really like it. Now, I will say that Raymond Buckland's books get a lot of hate in the modern witchcraft world because of his interpretation of witchcraft and Wicca. And I think, as with all books that come from this time period, it's important to understand the basis of the person that's writing the book. And so I will always recommend that if you are planning on buying a book, research a little bit about the author first. Get to know what they practice themselves, where they studied, who they studied under, what kind of tradition do they have, and what do they share with other people. And so going into this, I knew what I was getting into. Now, I will say that Raymond Buckland's works are heavily Wicca orientated. And that is because Raymond Buckland is part of a generation of practitioners who use the terms Wicca and witchcraft interchangeably. There was no real divide. They were essentially one and the same. Now, Raymond Buckland is very well known for being in the same circles as Gerald Gardner, and ultimately went on to create Saxe Wicca, which is a specific branch of Wiccan tradition that he practiced and initiated other people in. And so going into it, you have to remember, this is a Wiccan author writing a book about witchcraft from the Wiccan perspective. So going into it, you need to be prepared for the deity work, you need to be prepared for the Wiccan read, and everything that comes along with a Wiccan author talking about Wiccan witchcraft. However, there are some amazing guides in this book, some amazing foundational practices and principles, and so I wanted to get this book. I have read aspects of this book before when I was much, much earlier on in my magical practice. I found it in a library. It was like the mid-2000s and I found it in a library, which now I don't think you'd ever find this book in a library, but I did. And so I enjoyed the bits that I did read. And so I decided now was finally the time to get hold of the book again. And so far, I don't know how far in I am. I'm currently using an app to tell me how far in I am. It's really good. It helps track like where you are in different books, and you can like keep notes and all of that jam. So I don't think I'm very far in. I think I'm about lesson 2. I think I'm about that far in as of right now. And so far it's talking a lot about kind of items that you need, what you don't need, how you might find them, some of the basic ideas that underline the ceremonial tradition that Raymond Buckland does talk about. And I'm enjoying it so far. And I think a lot of the times when it comes with these books, you really have to take them as they are. I think a lot of people now, they want books that are purely secular. They don't want not even the smallest hint of Wicca in it. And if it has the smallest hint of Wicca in it, the comments and the reviews are just full of people shitting on the book. But I think it's really important to remember the time period when this book was written. Raymond Buckland was a relatively young man when he met Gerald Gardner. He died just a few years ago, actually. And a lot of the magical practice during the time period where he was actively practicing was Wicca orientated. And so I personally don't think we can ever shame an author for writing from their perspective, because that's how you get an authentic book. You get an authentic book when the author knows what they're talking about and writes what they know. And so a lot of these books, I see a lot of people hating on them because they have Wicca in them, but it is important to remember that there are lots of Wiccan practitioners out there and they should be writing books from their perspective rather than writing books from someone else's perspective on a topic that they don't know. So that is all the books that I got. The last two things were very, very kindly given to me. I was not expecting these in the slightest. You should see my face when I opened them. I nearly cried because I love them so much. I got 2 decks for Christmas. Now, I don't very often get decks because I typically like to buy my own. But when I was asked about Christmas, I did mention that my favourite deck that I have is the Wild Unknown Tarot. Now, this is a deck that I largely use for readings with other people. It's the deck that I go to every single time. If someone else needs a reading, I will use the Wild Unknown because it has the best responses for me personally when I'm interacting with other people. And the illustrator of the Wild Unknown Tarot has created 2 new decks. And I say new, they've been out for years. At least one of them has been out for a long time. And I got them for Christmas. And I cannot get over that. So the first one that was given to me is this one. This is the Animal Spirit Oracle by Kim Krans. If you want to know who the illustrator is, Kim Krans. And there is a dust cover for this. It's just because I'm actively using this deck, I don't want to keep taking the dust cover on and off. But it is stunning. I've wanted this deck for a really, really long time. And it comes with a little guidebook, same as my Wild Unknown Tarot does, except my Wild Unknown Tarot didn't come in one of these boxes. Instead, my Wild Unknown Tarot just came like with the book and then with the box. So if I can get it out, this is the box. It looks awesome. It's holographic. I will say that quality-wise, I think the Wild Unknown Tarot is better made. Like, the cards are better quality, the box is a better quality, but the imagery on the cards is stunning. I'm not going to go through too much of it because I do want to do a full deck walkthrough of them. So we have the lion. Like, they are the same style as the Wild Unknown. Oh, they're beautiful though. Like, they are so, so nice. Look at it, it's so cute. I love this deck. I did a reading literally Christmas Day. Like, when I got home, I got these out and I did a reading and I loved them. They were so accurate. I really enjoy the illustrations in the Wild Unknown series. They are absolutely beautiful and I always find I get really, really good results from them. I mean, not everyone is going to be the same when it comes to decks, but for me, the illustrations are genuinely fantastic for reading. Okay, and then lastly, because I know that I have been talking forever, is another deck that I am obsessed with. This is the Archetypes deck by the Wild Unknown, also illustrated by Kim Krans, and it is absolutely gorgeous. This one I have not read yet. The box is beautiful, mainly because I'm still figuring out entirely how I want to do it, because this is actually a circular deck. Now, I've never used circular cards before. Same as usual, comes with a guidebook. And then inside is this box. And so I'm really trying to decide how I want to use them. They aren't really a deck that you can shuffle the same as a normal tarot or oracle deck. They have this gorgeous crystal finish on them. They're beautiful. And I might end up using these more like a spread out on the floor kind of a reading. Almost how I do with runes, where I will spread them out and then I will choose the cards that draw me to them, rather than a traditional tarot reading. But these are the cards. This is just half of them. I really struggle to hold them because they are very big and they are circular, but they are absolutely beautiful. So we have the self, the shadow. What else do we have? Oh, this one. I found this one the other day. It's a cat in a party hat. It's literally a cat in a party hat. What could be better than that? There is nothing I want more than a cat in a party hat. The Pilgrim, and they are absolutely stunning cards. I'm just going to have to find a way that works best for me to shuffle them because they are quite tricky being circular and there's a lot of them. So like I can't actually hold them all. in one go, because I just don't have big enough hands. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to use these effectively, but they are gorgeous, and I cannot thank the person who got them for me enough, because I was not expecting them in the slightest. Like when I was asked what I wanted for Christmas, it was mainly just books, because books are really accessible for people to get, and books are affordable for people to get, especially if people get them secondhand. I am not a stickler for new books. Like, I recently went onto Oxfam and I ordered a whole bunch of secondhand books, because for me, it doesn't matter whether it's secondhand or new. You know, nothing really matters if it's secondhand or new. I wear secondhand clothes all of the time. So I often go for books because they're very accessible for people. So I wasn't expecting these, and I cannot get over how beautiful they are. And I know that this has been a really, really long video, and I know that there were so many books in this, and I know that I am incredibly fortunate to have such an amazing family who have been able to stay financially stable throughout this year, because I know that so many people have not been able to do that. And I'm so grateful to everyone who chose to still do Christmas gifts in my family, because we had the option to not do Christmas. You know, if people didn't want to, that was fine. And so many people did. And although Christmas was not the same this year, you know, for obvious reasons, we didn't meet each other. You know, I have not seen some of my family members now for a year plus, because of everything that's going on in the world. And it's amazing to me how thoughtful everyone is. So I am very grateful to you guys if you're watching. I know that some of you always watch my videos. It's kind of strange knowing that my family watches my videos. But if you are watching, thank you so much, because everything in here is stuff that I would have got myself. I will have reading material for months to come, and I am very excited to be able to share any of that knowledge that I gain from these books and share them with you guys, because I know that a lot of people are not as fortunate as I am. They cannot read books. They might not be able to have access to books. And so where I can, I like being able to give back the knowledge that I gain from books in the form of videos where people who maybe can only listen and learn, or people who can't afford to buy books, are able to gain some of the information that I have gathered from books in a way that's accessible to them. And so if there's anything in here that you would like me to do videos on, if there's any books that you want me to talk about, any topics that you want to talk about, please let me know down in the comment section. I'll try to put a pinned comment that you can go and put your responses under, because if I can give back to you guys some of the knowledge that I gain out of these books, I would really enjoy doing that. So yeah, that is all of the stuff that I got for Christmas. I am exceptionally grateful to everyone that got me stuff. Honestly, these books are the best things ever. The homeware is the best thing ever. That box that my auntie painted me is gorgeous. The decks are amazing. I cannot get over it. I still am like hyperactive, excited about all of these books. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. As I said at the start, I will put the names of books and decks and anything else that I can down in the description box, so that if you did like the sound of any of the books that I have here that you've maybe never heard of before, you can go and check them out in the description box. And yes, if you did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a like. It really means so much to me. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or you just want to chit chat with the community down in the comment section, feel free to post a comment. We also do have a Discord server, which is really, really popular right now. It is linked down in the description box, so that if you guys would like to chat with a magical community, there are people talking on there all of the time. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I do try my best to post magical content every single week. So I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you have a marvelous magical day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!